Hi, everyone. This is the CANA Connections podcast, and I am your host, Cherish Spurns. I'm a principal communications analyst here at CANA, and we are here today with the Spring 2026 CANA Futures cohort of interns. We would just want to talk today about the outstanding value they've brought to our team and also to hear from them about some of the challenges and achievements that they've experienced over their time with CANA. So what we'll do is a round robin of just a couple of questions each and hear what they have to say. First off, I wanted to start with Gavin. Without giving like too much away, what's like one specific library or tool that has really just been a huge resource to you during your research and time with us?
Yeah. Well, first of all, my name is Gavin Rosander. I'm a senior at Cal State San Marcos. If I had to pick one tool or library that's absolutely become like my best friend during my research, it would definitely have to be Pydantic. Um, just to give a little bit of background about why Pydantic is essential. Um, it first came about to solve a pretty fundamental challenge in Python, which is data validation. Python is inherently dynamically typed, so that makes it very nice for getting started quickly and flexibility. But when you're working with a data pipeline and you're pulling in external data, you need to be absolutely certain that the data structure is exactly what you expect it to be. And so Pydantic essentially acts as like a strict gate for your code. It guarantees that your data conforms to the exact types and structures that you've defined. So that way you can catch errors before they break your systems. Now, why is that critical for us and what we do? Our work is heavily centralized around AI and agentic workflows. And if you're familiar with I mean, by nature, large language models, they output unstructured, unpredictable text. Um, and if you want to be able to build reliable software around them, you have to be able to sort of tame that unpredictability of the text. And so that's where Pydantic comes in and just bridges that gap for you. Um, Lately, we've been leaning pretty heavily into their extended ecosystem to do this. For instance, we use Pydantic AI specifically for the LLM evaluation. It essentially just allows us to strictly like define the exact schema we expect the model to return, and then just be able to evaluate that. So, I mean, without giving away too much of what we do, Pydantic is basically just like the foundation that allows our team to push the boundaries of AI research without having to worry about like our data pipelines falling apart in the process.
Great, thank you. It kind of leads into my next question. I was going to ask Brianne. Military logistics data, comes from a huge number of various resources. Some are digital, some are manual, a whole lot of different sources. What's the weirdest anomaly you've seen in a data set, and how did you handle it?
Yeah, so hi everybody, my name's Brianne Spencer. I'm currently a second semester senior at Juniata College in Pennsylvania. So, kind of whenever I was thinking about this question, it was very interesting because data is never perfect. In the real world, data cleaning is a very big part of any data science job or data related job, bigger than most people really expect. There's one specific project that came to mind when I was reading this question. When working on a project involving location data, specifically like cities, states, and countries, I encountered an issue where many location names were inconsistent or non-standard. They were almost like a slang that people referred to them as. Because of the data being like inconsistent, I tried to find an API to request the location details it would often time out because of this. To handle this, I had to revise my search method. Instead of relying on the provided location name, I shifted the search query to use the official ID number for the location while calling the API. Once the API successfully returned the official data name on the ID, I would replace the inconsistent name in the original data set with the verified one and the professional name to ensure the accuracy and consistency of the data.
Thank you. Do you think that, I mean, did that take a huge amount of extra time? Did it derail your efforts, or were you able to just get back into the flow of things once you solved that?
Yeah, it was kind of just a workaround in the moment because it didn't need to be perfect, but it needed to be fixed then. So I think maybe I spent like 30 minutes kind of just redirecting my focus on it.
Thank you. My next question is for Carol. In some of the projects, or at least one of the projects you're working on now, do you think you spend more time working on predicting what will happen next or on optimizing the response?
Yeah. Hi, my name is Carol Wong, and I'm a master's student at the University of Hawaii at Manoa. And I think I spend more time optimizing the response. Like, of course, it's super important to try to predict when things will fail and to try to prepare for it ahead of time. But things can go haywire or like fail unexpectedly. So I think focusing on reacting as quickly and optimally as possible is what needs more time. Um, like there's always edge cases that you can never like predict before sending it out or like sending it to production or whatever. So I think preparing for that is needs more dedication.
Thank you. Thanks, Carol. My next question is for Jensen. And certainly since you guys are all in school, and this is probably a fairly common thing that academically speaking, I think you know your professors are looking for the highest accuracy. I think in logistics in the real world, it's often about, is it interpretable, is it usable? How do you balance making the model smart versus making it explainable? And what have your experiences been with CANA with that?
Yeah, well, first off, hey everybody, I'm Jensen Molbash. I'm currently finishing up my last semester at Loyola Marymount University. But to answer your question, yeah, it's a big issue that comes up a lot. How do we balance, the best versus, what's most easily interpretable for people? And first, I'll answer by saying, what helped me kind of bridge that gap the most was looking at what other people have done. Um, in the projects I've been working on, I'd see what's out there already. You don't want to reinvent the wheel. So kind of searching, what other people have done and their process, you can kind of connect that to, what you've been doing, to kind of enhance what you've been doing or alter. So in one of the projects I was working on, we were kind of at a wall, and then we eventually found something on some paper someone published about a pretty similar project that they did. And we read through it and we realized that a lot of these tools that they use could be implemented into our project. And just being able to, seek that out and see what other people have done helped me understand the problem even more. And, now that I was able to understand the problem better, I was able to, better implement that into my project, better understand it, and better create, something that other people can hopefully understand. As Gavin mentioned, a lot of our work deals with, agentic workflow, and a lot of the time, the responses we get might be unpredictable. So it's really important to know when that's needed to be used versus when you can kind of do it yourself deterministically. And I felt that kind of seeking out these external resources to help aid my own project really helped me better understand it and implement, new tools that I found into my project that other people have already done.
Thanks. I'm curious. You mentioned going into outside, resources. Have you guys collectively found each other as a helpful resource? I mean, have you helped each other on problems, or learned something totally unexpected from somebody that you didn't know previously?
Definitely, yeah, all the time. I think collaboration has been a key in my work over here. It's great to just, you know, you know, ask other people their experiences, what they've done, and that extends to, this external resources. You can even ask them, what have they found, out there that, could help with this. So it's definitely, to answer your question, yes, it's definitely been a big part of the process here for my projects. Yeah, just working with other people and seeing what's out there. Yeah.
Fantastic, thanks. I wanted to ask Carol, you've been working on several projects with CANA and you've had an opportunity to work with many different people. Is there something that you're like, wow, this is the future? I mean, this is like new and exciting and something that you haven't experienced before that you're particularly excited about?
Yeah, a lot of the work that we do here has to do with like AI and like developing in that aspect, which is something that I haven't really had the experience or the opportunity to have do before. So a lot of these projects are really impressive. There's like this one open source project that we were kind of looking at, which is OpenClaw, which is an AI agent assistant, and like it's always working in the background, so you can set it to do things like send you a summary of your emails every day, or like to conduct ongoing research, like if there are key terms that you want to be on the know of. Like, of course, in the current state, it's pretty risky with like giving it your private information, but um, in the future, like things like that makes me feel like it's really futuristic and like impressive.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds amazing. I can see
Yeah.
where there's challenges with trusting that sort of thing
Yeah.
entirely. Gavin, you've been with us for quite some time, and I was curious if you've had like something you see as like the biggest challenge or achievement at your time with Kana.
Yeah, for sure. I would actually, I would think that my biggest challenge and my greatest achievement would almost be two sides of the same coin, actually. When I first started at Cana, gosh, 7 months ago now, I was definitely pretty nervous, to say the least. This was my first software data science position and also my first introduction into corporate America as well. So I was a little nervous. And then leadership also made it pretty clear from day one that I wasn't just going to be sitting on the sidelines doing basic code reviews or bug fixes. I was actually going to be handed my own pieces of a project to truly own and complete. So stepping into that was incredibly intimidating. When you first look at a massive, complex code base for the first time, it is objectively scary. I had this underlying fear of writing my code into this giant system. I just couldn't help but think like, where does my code even belong? Where does my work even belong in this system? Or even worrying that the code I would write would just be entirely rejected by my managers in the first place. um, but the achievement side of this comes from, I think, how I actually handled this challenge. I realized I just had to take it one day at a time. I kept reminding myself that Rome wasn't built in a day, and that my main job as an intern was just to never stop reading, learning, and trying to grow as an engineer. Um, I think because I stuck to that mindset, I've actually been able to build several working projects that are actively being used within our larger systems today. um, Realizing that like my work is solid, that I was able to fit into a moving team's rhythm, and that I could start producing real value almost immediately. That's easily what I'm most proud of my time here at Cana. It went from I was able to switch it from being the scariest part of the internship to definitely the most rewarding.
And I had no idea you were nervous, so good job.
I play it well, thank you.
That leads into my first question for Beck, actually. When he mentioned, hey, Rome isn't built in a day, and that you just have to keep learning and growing. Is there any like piece of advice that you have that you've been given that's been super helpful, or even something that you relay onto somebody else as they're nearing either an internship or graduation in this field?
Yeah, yeah. So I'm Beck Farabee. I'm a senior math student at Clemson University. And honestly, the best advice I could give is to kind of embrace adaptability and reject these artificial timelines that you'll see or you might set yourself. I think it's really crucial to kind of remain open to lateral moves and unexpected pivots and continue to learn rather than like rigidly adhering to a strict like 5 year, 10-year plan that you made say, when you graduate or 5 years ago. Big recommendation I have is to focus on building really versatile and transferable skills and actually make meaningful relationships. Also, just to avoid the big trap of comparing your own path to someone else's.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I want to ask a follow on to that. I mean, is there something that you wish you had studied, prior to this internship or as you're nearing graduation where you're like, man, I wish I had put more effort into something specific?
Yeah, absolutely. So, kind of being a math major, and specifically with statistics, this is kind of a weird one, but if there's one thing I wish I had studied more before starting, it's foundational statistics, really the stuff behind machine learning. So, going into it, I felt pretty comfortable with the coding side of things, but I really realized pretty quickly that knowing how to implement a model isn't the same as understanding the math and the mechanics behind the actual model. So I wish I had spent a lot more time deeply reviewing concepts like Bayesian inference and kind of some other statistical probabilities, you could say, rather than just relying on pre-built libraries that kind of do everything for us. Just having a even more solid math background would have helped.
Thanks. Jensen, I want to say you're a fairly math centric individual. I feel like if I recall correctly, you have a pretty heavy background in math. Um, so I'm hoping it was helpful for you. But is there something skill wise that you did pick up here at your internship that you didn't realize maybe was data science centered or that's been particularly helpful in that realm?
Yeah, definitely. That's a great question. And I guess my answer would kind of just be to echo a lot of what other people have said here. Gavin mentioned it was daunting at the start. We had these big data sets or elaborate projects that we were expected to really help and assist on. So I guess like one of the first things I realized, like, wow, this is a data science skill that I need to develop, is kind of just to trust your ability and really understand that it's okay to make mistakes, but that ultimately you're going to grow and that it's a process. You know, Creating these models or being part of these projects. There's a reason why we have teams to do it, and it's not just alone. And really just realizing that I was part of this bigger whole, and that I was I needed to trust myself and really apply myself to accomplish these tasks. And yeah, kind of another point I would say is uh, really really just being able to collaborate with other people. I feel like it's looked as collaboration and communication is looked at as a soft skill, and it definitely is. But in the context of what I've been doing here, it really helped me being able to reach out to other people, seeing what they've, problems they've ran into, solutions they've come up with. I mentioned, really, picking other people's brains on, how they might have tackled something, seeking out resources on similar problems. Um, and really what I didn't realize coming into it is that communication skill is super important. It's important to be able to work part of a team, seek out this other research, as I mentioned. And I didn't realize that coming in. I thought it might just be some individual effort that I'm partaking in. I really just got to hunker down and do my work, and eventually, after enough trial and error, I'm going to get the answer. But it really, all the projects I've been a part of have really turned into just a team exercise and really understanding how we can work together and, get the best out of each other.
Thanks, Jensen. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like what you're saying is you can't only be good or great at one thing. I mean, you guys have to have the balance, which I absolutely believe that you do. And especially in that it isn't just research and it isn't just an individual effort. It is a team project. From interns all the way up to like principal level, director level, working on real projects, that have an actual real impact. And we definitely want to say, this has just been such an amazing opportunity for us to have so many awesome college students and interns with the CANA team. And we look forward to continuing this cohort and obviously the ones that we have in the future, but it's just been fantastic. So thank you to all of you. I really appreciate it. I did have another question for Brianne. If you could tell me, one thing that you would have loved to have added to this internship or that would have made it more important or more useful or more pivotal in some way, what would that be?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think the internship was amazing, so I don't want to say one thing could use a lot of work because I think my mentors were amazing. We did the data labs and we really got to have the peer connection as well. I think the one thing that was kind of holding maybe all of us back was just kind of we were starting our STTRs a little later, and I think if maybe this was very external, so maybe if we could have started those a little bit earlier, I think we all could have gotten into them a little bit deeper. But that's the one thing that I could think of that was bad. But everything was really really great. So.
Yeah, that's the real world, butting up against all of our best laid plans for sure. Jensen, I think you had a follow on comment to that.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great answer. But I think where my mind went to was more like I've been talking about the collaboration side and how important that's been for me. I've been, privileged enough to work with a great team, including Carol, on some projects. So I think maybe it would have been really great to maybe work on more projects with different interns. I was lucky enough to work with Carol, but I didn't really get to work as much with Beck, Gavin, or Brianne. So I think really being part of a project and seeing how they go through their thought process on a lot of problems, rather than just maybe some senior tech lead or some supervisor, really seeing how someone in our situation handles these problems, I think would have been a great exercise.
Okay, great. Yeah, super useful. Thank you. Gavin, you had your hand up.
Yeah, just a little thing I thought of for improving the internship. Um, a struggle that I had when I'd first joined CANA was that my mentor was Linux based and I am Mac based for my system. And this led to a couple weeks worth of tinkering around issues that they actually couldn't really help me with because they've never touched Mac before. So I think maybe just having a good onboarding process into the architecture for everybody to go through. So that way we can all sort of be on the same page and maybe have different routes for those who are on maybe different types of systems.
And this program has grown. In the past, we've had one intern maybe once or twice a year. And now all of a sudden we have five because the work demands it and we can support it. So yeah, these are all super important growing pains. So my final question, is there one word or one sentence that really encapsulates your time with CANA? Something that you could share with us? I'm going to go ahead and just go around the horn. Gavin?
One word, choosing one word, I'd have to go with confidence. Confidence is the biggest thing that I've learned coming out of this. Like I said, I answered to a previous question, I was a little bit nervous when starting this internship. I'm nowhere near a perfect engineer, but I feel a lot more ready to step into roles and go tackle real world problems and be comfortable being uncomfortable with new technologies and stuff. I feel a lot more confident in myself to go be the best engineer I can be.
Fantastic. Thank you. Carol, you?
I guess my word would be excitement. I don't know if I should explain. I was really excited to learn a lot of new technologies and work with a lot of different people. So it's a lot of fun.
Great, thank you. I'm glad we were able to challenge you. You're finishing up your master's degree, moving on, I think, to a PhD. So I'm glad we're part of that journey. Beck?
That's great.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I would say innovative. I feel like a lot of the work being done here is just really interesting and on kind of the brink of bringing new technologies to new fields. I found all of the work extremely interesting, and I think it's something that as students, we aren't really exposed to any of it, especially in the industry that we're in. So I think kind of getting that opportunity was really great. And yeah, I would just say innovative.
Thank you. I'm moving on to Jensen.
Yeah, one word I would probably say involved, you know. I've mentioned it multiple times. Just being part of this team, I really felt, welcomed and, like an equal. I feel like coming in as an intern, it's daunting, as, Gavin said, and we've all mentioned. And just really being part of this team and having everyone really make us feel that, we are part of this team and that, our contributions are valued. So.
And what's unique about this field is that some of the younger people know far more than a lot of the older people. I mean, you guys are definitely more involved in some of those things than people that have been doing it for years. It's getting on the cutting edge for sure. Brianne, did you have a final word or sentence for us?
Yeah, I think my word would be growth. I think I've learned a lot through my internship. Kind of like going off of Gavin and Beck, like I feel like I was like really nervous to like learn. Everybody here is so smart and just like kind of like it's intimidating to like put your work out there. But like it's again it's like very innovative, and I just think I've learned a lot and grown a lot like as a as a student and as an employee, so I really appreciate all of it.
Wonderful. I think we have all grown having you all here for sure. Again, thank you all of you, for participating in this podcast, for being interns with CANA, and for helping us, grow and develop as people and as a team. So, thanks again.